I'm Divyank Agarwal. I'm in the International School of Geneva at LGB. And yeah, I attended this conference because I thought it would be interesting.
My name is Emil Mawad, and I'm from Venezuela, the only South American in this conference. And I'm from Zurich International School, and I came to the Geneva conference because I thought it was not only interesting, but it also built a lot of interesting discussions that people get to learn a lot from. And I thought I was one of those people that had to learn.
Hello, I'm Stella Bagasheva. I'm Bulgarian, and I go to the Anglo-American School of Sofia in Bulgaria. And I decided to join Global Issues Network because I realized there are a lot of global problems everywhere around the world. And if discussion is the way I can help, then I'm willing to take this chance.
Great. Okay, Ali, ask each one in turn what expectations you had when you came to this workshop, International Humanitarian Law, and how it differed maybe from what your expectations were and what came out of it. How is it different or not? So, whoever wants to start.
I was expecting nothing, absolutely nothing, like what was presented to me. I was expecting a lecture on what humanitarian law is and how it is applied, but it was definitely much more than this. Like, there were actual activities which we had to participate. We had to act out certain scenes. We had a very passionate discussion about the application of humanitarian law in practice, which is always good. Debates are always nice. So definitely different.
Maybe to follow on from that, you mentioned that there was quite a passionate discussion. Maybe you can remind us what that discussion was about. Maybe we'll start with you.
Well,
the discussion started.
I think that if we're all referring to the same thing, I think we all hit a keynote on the rules of war. Are we all agreeing on that? The rules of war, how I raised the point where I thought for me it was a bit morbid and maybe stone cold on how you put rules to war as if it was treated like a sport, as in this is prohibited, you can't do this. And essentially it all came down to a very simple goal, whereas I as a soldier kill another soldier and that's how it goes. It was sort of like brought down to the core. And even though I understand fully that they're just putting these rules in order to sort of minimize the problems and conflicts that might come out of that war, I still think it's quite a very astonishing practice to actually sit down and say, how is it okay to kill other people?
Very interesting. And what was your reaction to that part of the debate?
My reaction was that I thought it was rather naive to just assume that we could just ban war, and that is the ultimate outcome, that we could just ban war and there would be no conflict in the first place, so we don't need rules in war. But the fact is that war has existed for thousands of years, and war will continue to exist. There's no way we have ever become close to banning war. But nowadays, thanks to the rules of war, direct attack on civilians by recognized governments has reduced dramatically in the past 50 years. If you see during World War II, it was a legitimate strategy which the Allies and the Germans applied to target civilian areas specifically. Nowadays, you can't do that. America, if you see in Afghanistan, if there are civilian casualties, there's an apology, there's an investigation, there's a whole process. You cannot target civilians as to fight a war. And I think this has been achieved by putting rules into war. And I think putting rules into war is very, very important. And saying that we should ban war in the first place, well, even if we do ban war, nobody's going to listen to it. War is not going to be banned. So we have to put rules into war, which are actually being listened to, and that will be to the betterment of everyone.
Can I add on something like this?
Yes, certainly. I was going to ask you.
Well, you said that war cannot be banned. I kind of disagree with this. I don't think that a law can say, okay, from now on, no two countries can wage war against each other. But I think that the human society, the human mind would, at one point, I don't know when, but I hope soon, would come to this point that just war would not be necessary anymore. Diplomacy would be so high and so achievable and so respected that there will not be any need for military strength and military conflicts. So maybe the humanitarian law is just the one step towards this dream that war will simply cease to exist.
This is a very noble dream, and I wish war ceases to exist, but for thousands of years it has not happened. So we need laws so that war becomes more humane. It may sound like a paradox, but so that war becomes more humane. Is there any way of banning war? Can we ban war? The UN Security Council was founded to ban war. The UN was founded to ban war. There's been everything done to ban war. War doesn't just get banned.
I'm not saying it should be banned. That's my point. It's not somebody doesn't ban war. It's just
that humans come to this realization
Exactly.
that finally, but till then.
until then there are wars. They're like, and I agree with this.
I don't think it'll ever happen, but it's good if people keep hoping.
People didn't believe that cars would be invented and that we will be using this camera and this microphone, but then again, here we are.
Why hasn't that happened yet then? Why does war still happen? And do you see in the near future, next 100 years of war disappearing?
I think just to let you guys have some tape spare for the rest of the conference, I think that we can both agree that humans, we have necessities, and necessities bring up our actions. Where when we want power, we also equate it to knowledge. If we want knowledge, we're willing to go outside of our own planet to look for knowledge, even if it makes us smaller. And also that happens with the day-to-day basis. We need stuff, we need things, we need to work for them. For some people that don't have the means that we have, they also need to bring upon violence, because at the end of the day is the easiest thing you can do. And there's nothing as easy as just grabbing a gun in a war-torn country and just shoot someone for a piece of bread. So I think that if we both agree that humans will have necessities and they will do anything to conquer them, then we'll have chapters like conflicts. And we can't stop conflicts, because if we stop conflicts, that would be like stopping necessities. And can you really stop human from needing something? So I think it's not a matter of discussing whether we will have war forever or we will at some point stop war. I think it's easier to just try to work better on the tools we have. The point that I was making all over the discussion was that it was a bit morbid to treat war like a sport. Someone else made the point of banning war, which is, I also think it's a bit unrealistic in our world today.
I think we all agree with that.
But I think that if we focus on bettering the tools that we have to avoid conflict at the most, that would be much more optimal than just, sitting down and saying, no, we'll have war, or no, we will not have war. I think we have to improve on our situation rather than look for an unrealistic goal, or, caught ourselves in the negativity of saying it's never going to happen. So we have to fuse both views, because it all focuses itself on one anchor, which is humans have needs, and they're going to do anything in their own power to get them. So I think that's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, you say humans have needs, and we all agree with this. But is war the only way to achieve those needs? What about diplomacy?
Do you think diplomacy works?
I think it does.
And why there's still conflict in Israel and other places?
Well, it works in some places, it works, and that's what about the Cold War?
If you go to my presentation about the inefficiencies of the UN, and you see how self-interest actually hinders development and aid throughout the world, then you'll understand how some of us feel about diplomacy. Because it is true.
So you disagree with diplomacy?
No, don't get me wrong. I think diplomacy is more of a civilized way to treating with conflicts. However, diplomacy in the 21st century, although noble, is quite inefficient. There's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of things.
However inefficient diplomacy is, it is obviously a much better outcome to war. The thing is that no matter how much diplomacy there is, diplomacy only exists because there exists war. War exists because there exists diplomacy. You cannot end war. War is a natural cycle.